Once Gautama Buddha says, "Peace comes from within, do not seek it without." In the hustle and bustle of modern life, we often find ourselves pushing, striving, and forcing outcomes in our relentless pursuit of success, happiness, and fulfillment. We believe that through sheer will and effort, we can bend the world to our desires. Yet, as the Buddha's wisdom reminds us, true peace and contentment are not found by forcing external circumstances, but by cultivating a serene mind and a compassionate heart. This chapter, "Don't Force Anything on Your Life," delves into the profound Buddhist principle of non-force, exploring how letting go and allowing life to unfold naturally can lead to deeper peace and greater fulfillment. Through the lens of Zen stories and the teachings of Gautama Buddha, we will embark on a journey to understand the art of non-force, learning to embrace the flow of life with grace and acceptance. Imagine a river flowing gently through a valley. The water does not force its way through obstacles. Instead, it flows around them, finding its path with effortless grace. Similarly, in our lives, when we stop forcing and start flowing, we align ourselves with the natural rhythms of the universe, discovering a sense of ease and harmony that cannot be achieved through struggle. In the following pages, we will explore 20 core Buddhist principles that illuminate the path of non-force. From the understanding of impermanence to the practice of mindfulness, each principle offers a beacon of light, guiding us toward a life of balance, patience, and inner peace. We will learn how to release attachments, cultivate compassion, and trust in the natural unfolding of life's events. As we embark on this journey, let us remember that the teachings of Buddhism are not just philosophical musings, but practical tools for everyday living. By integrating these principles into our daily lives, we can transform our approach to challenges and opportunities, finding joy and contentment not in the forceful pursuit of our goals, but in the gentle, mindful acceptance of the present moment. So, let us begin this exploration with an open heart and a willing mind, ready to embrace the wisdom of non-force and discover the profound peace that lies within. Number 1. Understanding the principle of non-force in Buddhism. To truly grasp the principle of non-force, it is essential to delve into the core teachings of Buddhism, which emphasize balance, harmony, and the natural unfolding of life. In this section, we will explore the foundational aspects of non-force, starting with its definition, and then moving on to the concept of the middle way and the importance of interconnectedness. Definition of non-force. Non-force, or non-striving, is a central tenet in Buddhist philosophy that encourages a gentle and accepting approach to life. It is the practice of allowing things to happen naturally without exerting undue pressure or control. This principle teaches us to flow with life's currents rather than against them, to embrace what comes our way with equanimity and patience. In Buddhism, non-force is often linked to the idea of wu-wei from Taoist philosophy, which translates to effortless action or action without effort. This does not imply inactivity or passivity. Rather, it means engaging in actions that are in harmony with the natural order of things, actions that arise spontaneously from a place of deep awareness and alignment with the present moment. Gautama Buddha's teachings encourage us to cultivate a state of mindfulness where we are fully present and observant of our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings. In this state, we learn to respond to situations with calmness and clarity rather than reacting impulsively or forcefully. By doing so, we reduce unnecessary stress and suffering, both for ourselves and for those around us. A practical example of non-force can be seen in the practice of meditation. When we meditate, we do not force our minds to be quiet. Instead, we observe our thoughts without attachment, allowing them to come and go naturally. Over time, this practice leads to a calmer, more centered mind, not through force, but through gentle, sustained awareness. By embracing non-force, we learn to trust in the unfolding of life, understanding that some things are beyond our control. This trust is not a resignation, but a profound acceptance that allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. In summary, the definition of non-force in Buddhism is about cultivating a mindful, patient, and accepting attitude towards life. It is about engaging with the world in a way that is harmonious and balanced, allowing things to unfold naturally while maintaining inner peace and clarity. This principle sets the foundation for deeper exploration of the Buddhist path, where wisdom and compassion guide our actions, free from the constraints of force and control. Number 2. The middle way. The middle way, or Madhyamaka in Sanskrit, is a fundamental principle in Buddhism that guides practitioners towards a balanced and harmonious life. It is the path of moderation that avoids the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. This concept was first introduced by Gautama Buddha after his enlightenment, as he reflected on his own life experiences. Before attaining enlightenment, the Buddha lived a life of luxury as a prince, followed by years of severe asceticism. He found that neither extreme led to true understanding or liberation. Instead, he realized that a balanced approach, the middle way, was the key to achieving enlightenment. This profound insight became the cornerstone of his teachings. The middle way is not about avoiding effort or discipline, nor is it about indulging every desire. Instead, it is about finding a balanced approach to life that promotes physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. By avoiding extremes, we create the conditions for a peaceful and sustainable path towards enlightenment. In practical terms, the middle way can be applied to various aspects of life. First, physical well-being. It encourages us to take care of our bodies without becoming overly attached to physical appearance or comfort. We should neither neglect our health nor become obsessed with it. Second, mental and emotional balance. It advocates for a balanced mind, free from the extremes of emotional highs and lows. Practicing mindfulness and meditation helps us achieve this equilibrium, allowing us to respond to life's challenges with calm and clarity. Third, spiritual practice. It promotes a disciplined spiritual practice that is neither too rigid nor too lax. Consistent meditation, ethical conduct, and study of the Dharma should be pursued without becoming overly strict or complacent. The middle way also has profound implications for how we interact with the world. First, interpersonal relationships. It encourages us to interact with others with kindness and understanding, avoiding the extremes of aggression and passivity. By practicing compassionate communication, we build harmonious relationships. Second, work and daily activities. It guides us to engage in our work and daily activities with diligence and mindfulness without becoming workaholics or neglecting our responsibilities. Third, desires and attachments. It teaches us to recognize and moderate our desires and attachments. While it is natural to have desires, we should not let them control us. By practicing non-attachment, we find freedom and contentment. The middle way is closely related to the principle of non-force. When we follow the middle way, we avoid the extremes of forcing outcomes or giving up entirely. Instead, we find a balanced approach that respects the natural flow of life. This balanced path allows us to act with intention and clarity, without the stress and suffering that come from trying to control everything. In essence, the middle way is a practical and profound guide for living a life of balance and harmony. It helps us navigate the complexities of life with wisdom and compassion, avoiding the pitfalls of extremism. By embracing the middle way, we create a foundation for a peaceful and fulfilling life, aligned with the natural rhythms of existence. Number 3. Interconnectedness, pratyasamutpada. The concept of interconnectedness, or pratyasamutpada in Sanskrit, is a cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy that illustrates the interconnected nature of all things, often translated as dependent origination or dependent arising. This principle teaches that everything in the universe is interdependent and nothing exists in isolation. Pratyasamutpada reveals that every phenomenon arises in dependence on a web of conditions and causes. Nothing exists independently or self-sufficiently. Instead, everything is part of an intricate network of relationships. This understanding profoundly impacts how we view the world and our place within it. To grasp this concept, consider a simple example: a tree. A tree depends on the soil, water, sunlight, air, and countless microorganisms to grow and thrive. Its existence is not independent, but relies on an intricate system of interrelated factors. Similarly, human life is sustained by a myriad of interconnected elements, from the air we breathe to the social and ecological systems we are part of. Understanding pratyasamutpada has several important implications for our lives. First, awareness of interdependence. Recognizing our interconnectedness helps us see how our actions affect others and the world around us. Every decision we make has a ripple effect, influencing people, communities, and the environment. This awareness fosters a sense of responsibility and encourages us to act mindfully and compassionately. Second, reducing self-centeredness. By understanding that we are not isolated entities, we can move beyond self-centered thinking. This shift in perspective encourages empathy and compassion as we realize that the well-being of others is intimately tied to our own well-being. Third, cultivating humility. Appreciating the complex web of conditions that sustain life cultivates humility. We acknowledge that our successes and achievements are not solely the result of our efforts, but are also due to the support and contributions of countless others. Fourth, letting go of control. The principle of interconnectedness helps us accept that we cannot control everything. Many factors influencing our lives are beyond our control, and forcing outcomes often leads to frustration and suffering. Embracing pratyasamutpada encourages us to trust in the natural flow of life and to focus on what we can influence positively. Fifth, enhancing cooperation. Recognizing our interconnectedness fosters a spirit of cooperation and collaboration. We see the value in working together towards common goals, understanding that our collective efforts can create significant positive change. In the context of non-force, pratyasamutpada teaches us that trying to force outcomes is futile because it ignores the complex interplay of conditions that give rise to those outcomes. Instead, we are encouraged to act with awareness and mindfulness, aligning our actions with the natural flow of interdependent causes and conditions. For instance, in a work setting, rather than forcing a project to completion through sheer willpower, we can recognize the various factors at play: team dynamics, available resources, external circumstances, and work harmoniously within those parameters. By doing so, we are more likely to achieve sustainable and effective results. In personal relationships, understanding interconnectedness can help us approach conflicts with empathy and a willingness to see the other person's perspective. We realize that harmonious relationships depend on mutual understanding and cooperation, not on forcing our views or desires onto others. In summary, pratyasamutpada, or interconnectedness, is a profound principle that teaches us the interdependent nature of all things. It encourages us to act with mindfulness, compassion, and humility, recognizing that we are part of a vast, interconnected web of life. By embracing this principle, we learn to navigate life with a sense of balance and harmony, avoiding the pitfalls of force and control. Number 4. Impermanence, anicca. Impermanence, or anicca in Pali, is a fundamental concept in Buddhism that teaches that all things are in a constant state of flux. Nothing remains the same from one moment to the next. This principle of continuous change applies to everything in the universe, from the smallest particles to the vast galaxies, and from our thoughts and emotions to the relationships and situations we encounter in life. The Buddha taught that understanding and accepting impermanence is crucial for achieving wisdom and inner peace. When we grasp the transient nature of all things, we learn to let go of attachments and expectations, which are often the root causes of our suffering. Here are key aspects of anicca and how they relate to the practice of non-force. First, acceptance of change. Recognizing that change is a natural part of life helps us to accept it rather than resist it. When we accept that everything is impermanent, we become more adaptable and open to new experiences. This acceptance reduces the urge to force things to remain the same or to happen in a specific way. Second, letting go of attachment. Attachments often lead to suffering because we try to cling to things that are inherently transient. By embracing impermanence, we learn to let go of our rigid attachments to people, possessions, and outcomes. This letting go allows us to experience life more fully and with less stress, as we are not constantly trying to control or hold on to what inevitably changes. Third, reduced suffering. Much of our suffering arises from our resistance to change and our desire to control the uncontrollable. By understanding and accepting impermanence, we can reduce this suffering. We learn to flow with the natural course of events rather than struggling against them. Fourth, enhanced presence. Awareness of impermanence brings us into the present moment. When we realize that each moment is fleeting, we are more likely to appreciate and fully engage with the here and now. This presence diminishes the tendency to force outcomes based on past regrets or future anxieties. Fifth, compassion and empathy. Recognizing the impermanent nature of life fosters compassion and empathy. We understand that everyone experiences change and loss, which can deepen our connection to others and inspire us to act with kindness and understanding. In practical terms, applying the principle of anicca involves several mindful practices. Mindfulness, meditation. Regular meditation helps us observe the changing nature of our thoughts, emotions, and sensations. Through this practice, we become more attuned to the impermanence within ourselves and the world around us. Reflection. Taking time to reflect on the transient nature of life can reinforce our understanding of anicca. Journaling about changes we observe in our lives or contemplating natural cycles, such as the changing seasons, can deepen our appreciation of impermanence. Gratitude practice. Cultivating gratitude for the present moment and the people and experiences we have now helps us to focus on the transient beauty of life rather than clinging to what is passing or longing for what has yet to come. By embracing impermanence, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. We become more flexible, resilient, and open-hearted. This alignment reduces the need to force outcomes and allows us to live more peacefully and harmoniously. Impermanence, thus, is not a cause for despair, but a call to live more mindfully and compassionately, appreciating the fleeting yet precious nature of existence. Number 5. Non-attachment, anatta. Non-attachment, or anatta in Pali, is a fundamental principle in Buddhism that teaches the absence of a permanent, unchanging self or soul. It emphasizes the impermanence and insubstantiality of all phenomena, including the notion of a fixed, independent self. The concept of anatta challenges the common belief in a separate, enduring self that exists apart from the changing conditions of life. Instead, it suggests that our sense of self is a construct, a product of our experiences, perceptions, and conditioning that is constantly evolving and dependent on external factors. Here are key aspects of anatta and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Letting go of ego. Anatta encourages us to let go of the egoic attachments that lead to suffering. When we identify too strongly with our self-concept, our roles, identities, and possessions, we create a false sense of security that is easily threatened by change. By recognizing the impermanent and interdependent nature of our being, we can loosen the grip of ego and experience greater freedom and ease. 2. Embracing impermanence. Non-attachment is closely linked to the principle of impermanence. When we understand that everything, including our sense of self, is in a constant state of flux, we are less likely to cling to fixed identities or outcomes. This understanding reduces the need to force situations to conform to our ego's desires and allows us to flow more gracefully with the changing tides of life. 3. Freedom from suffering. Attachment to the idea of a permanent self leads to suffering, as we resist the natural flow of change and cling to illusions of control and permanence. By letting go of these attachments and embracing the truth of anatta, we can free ourselves from the cycle of craving, aversion, and delusion that perpetuates suffering. 4. Interconnectedness. Anatta highlights the interconnected nature of all beings. When we realize that there is no separate, permanent self, we recognize our fundamental unity with all of existence. This realization fosters compassion and empathy, as we understand that the joys and sorrows of others are intimately linked to our own. 5. Living mindfully. Practicing non-attachment involves being mindful of our attachments and aversions in each moment. By observing our thoughts, emotions, and desires without identification or judgment, we cultivate greater self-awareness and insight. This mindfulness allows us to see clearly the ways in which attachment and clinging create suffering, and to choose a path of non-force instead. In practical terms, cultivating non-attachment involves letting go of possessions, detaching from material possessions and recognizing that true happiness cannot be found in external objects. Releasing identities. Letting go of fixed identities and roles, recognizing that they are transient and subject to change. Practicing equanimity. Cultivating equanimity in the face of gain and loss, pleasure and pain, success and failure, recognizing that they are all impermanent and ultimately unsatisfactory. Developing compassion. Cultivating compassion for ourselves and others, recognizing that we are all interconnected and subject to the same fundamental truths of impermanence and non-attachment. By embodying the principle of non-attachment, we liberate ourselves from the constraints of ego and the suffering it engenders. We learn to navigate life with greater ease, openness, and compassion, embracing the ever-changing nature of existence with a sense of lightness and freedom. Non-attachment, therefore, is not a renunciation of life, but a profound acceptance of its inherent impermanence and interconnectedness. Number 6. Suffering, dukkha. Suffering, or dukkha in Pali, is a central concept in Buddhism that encompasses not only physical pain, but also the mental and emotional dissatisfaction inherent in the human condition. The Buddha taught that life is inherently unsatisfactory due to the impermanent and conditioned nature of existence. Dukkha arises from various sources, including attachment, aversion, and ignorance. When we cling to things that are impermanent, resist the natural flow of change, or misunderstand the true nature of reality, we experience suffering. The first noble truth in Buddhism is the recognition of dukkha as an inherent aspect of existence. Here are key aspects of dukkha and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Recognition of suffering. Acknowledging the reality of dukkha is the first step toward liberation. When we recognize the unsatisfactory nature of existence, we become motivated to seek a path beyond suffering. This recognition opens the door to wisdom and compassion, guiding us toward a life of greater ease and freedom. 2. Understanding impermanence. Dukkha is closely linked to the principle of impermanence. When we cling to things that are subject to change, we inevitably experience disappointment and frustration. By embracing impermanence and letting go of attachments, we can reduce the intensity of suffering and find greater peace amidst life's ups and downs. 3. Letting go of craving. The Buddha taught that craving, or tanha, is the root cause of suffering. When we crave for things to be different than they are, we create a gap between reality and our expectations, leading to dissatisfaction and distress. By cultivating non-attachment and letting go of craving, we can alleviate much of the suffering we experience. 4. Compassionate response. Understanding our own suffering enables us to empathize with the suffering of others. This empathy fuels our compassion and motivates us to alleviate the suffering of sentient beings. By responding to suffering with kindness and understanding, we contribute to the well-being of all beings and cultivate a more harmonious world. 5. Mindful awareness. Practicing mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without becoming entangled in them. By developing this mindful awareness, we can recognize the arising of suffering and respond skillfully rather than reacting impulsively. This mindful response reduces the intensity of suffering and promotes greater equanimity. In practical terms, addressing dukkha involves practicing acceptance. Accepting the reality of dukkha and embracing life as it is, rather than constantly striving for an idealized version of reality. Cultivating non-attachment. Letting go of attachments and desires that perpetuate suffering, recognizing that true happiness does not depend on external conditions. Developing wisdom. Reflecting on the impermanent and conditioned nature of existence, gaining insight into the causes and cessation of suffering, as taught in the Four Noble Truths. Engaging in compassionate action. Responding to suffering with compassion and kindness, both towards ourselves and others, alleviating the causes of suffering wherever possible. By addressing the root causes of suffering and cultivating a life of wisdom, compassion, and non-attachment, we can reduce the intensity of dukkha and find greater peace and fulfillment. While we may not be able to eliminate all suffering entirely, we can learn to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience, embracing the principle of non-force as a guiding light on the path to liberation. Number 7. Mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness, or sati in Pali, is a foundational practice in Buddhism that involves paying attention to the present moment with openness, curiosity, and non-judgmental awareness. It is the practice of being fully present in each moment, observing our thoughts, emotions, sensations, and surroundings without attachment or aversion. The Buddha emphasized the importance of mindfulness as a means to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. By training the mind to be present and aware, we can break free from the cycle of reactive patterns and habitual tendencies that perpetuate suffering. Here are key aspects of mindfulness and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Present moment awareness. Mindfulness involves bringing our attention to the present moment rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. When we are fully present, we can respond to life's challenges with clarity and wisdom, rather than reacting impulsively out of habit or conditioning. 2. Non-judgmental observation. Mindfulness encourages us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment or criticism. Instead of labeling experiences as good or bad, we simply acknowledge them as they are, allowing them to arise and pass away without getting caught up in them. 3. Cultivating equanimity. Through mindfulness, we develop equanimity, or a balanced state of mind, that allows us to remain steady and composed in the face of life's ups and downs. By observing the impermanent and ever-changing nature of our experiences, we can cultivate a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. 4. Interrupting reactive patterns. Mindfulness interrupts the automatic reactive patterns of the mind that lead to suffering. By bringing awareness to our thoughts and emotions, we create space between stimulus and response, allowing us to choose a skillful and compassionate response rather than reacting impulsively out of habit. 5. Deepening insight. Mindfulness leads to deeper insight into the nature of reality and the causes of suffering. As we observe the impermanent, unsatisfactory, and selfless nature of our experiences, we gain insight into the Four Noble Truths and the cessation of suffering. In practical terms, cultivating mindfulness involves formal meditation practice. Engaging in formal meditation practices such as mindfulness of breath, body scan, or loving-kindness meditation to train the mind in present moment awareness. Informal mindfulness. Bringing mindfulness into everyday activities such as eating, walking, or washing dishes by paying attention to the sensations, thoughts, and emotions that arise in each moment. Mindful reflection. Reflecting on our experiences with mindfulness, noticing patterns and tendencies in our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and cultivating greater self-awareness and insight. Integration into daily life. Applying mindfulness to difficult situations and interactions, bringing awareness and compassion to challenging moments, and responding skillfully rather than reacting habitually. By cultivating mindfulness, we develop the capacity to live with greater presence, clarity, and compassion. Mindfulness allows us to embrace the principle of non-force by letting go of the need to control or manipulate our experiences, and by responding to life with openness and acceptance. As we deepen our practice of mindfulness, we discover a profound sense of peace and freedom that arises from being fully present in each moment. Number 8. Equanimity, upekkha. Equanimity, or upekkha in Pali, is a quality of balance, tranquility, and even-mindedness that arises from a deep understanding of the impermanent and interconnected nature of existence. It is the ability to remain calm and composed in the face of life's ups and downs, neither clinging to pleasant experiences nor resisting unpleasant ones. The Buddha taught that cultivating equanimity is essential for achieving true peace and liberation. When we are able to meet each moment with equanimity, we free ourselves from the roller coaster of emotions and reactions that lead to suffering. Here are key aspects of equanimity and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Stability in the midst of change. Equanimity allows us to remain stable and grounded even as the circumstances of life change unpredictably. By recognizing the impermanent nature of all things, we can meet both joy and sorrow with a steady heart, knowing that all experiences are transient and ultimately unsatisfactory. 2. Non-attachment to outcomes. Equanimity involves letting go of attachment to specific outcomes and relinquishing the need to control or manipulate situations. When we are free from attachment, we can accept whatever arises with grace and acceptance, without trying to force things to be different than they are. 3. Compassionate detachment. Equanimity does not mean indifference or apathy. Instead, it is a compassionate detachment that allows us to respond to the suffering of others with empathy and kindness, without becoming overwhelmed by their pain or feeling compelled to fix their problems. 4. Balanced response to pleasure and pain. Equanimity helps us to maintain balance in the face of pleasure and pain. Rather than becoming excessively elated by success or devastated by failure, we can meet both with a calm and balanced mind, recognizing that both are impermanent and subject to change. 5. Spacious awareness. Equanimity arises from a spacious awareness that embraces the totality of our experience without getting caught up in the fluctuations of the mind. By resting in this spacious awareness, we can observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations with detachment and clarity, allowing them to arise and pass away without grasping or aversion. In practical terms, cultivating equanimity involves mindfulness practice. Developing mindfulness allows us to observe our experiences with equanimity, noticing the transient nature of thoughts, emotions, and sensations without getting caught up in them. Compassion practice. Cultivating compassion towards ourselves and others helps to soften the edges of our reactions and fosters a sense of equanimity in the face of suffering. Reflective inquiry. Reflecting on the impermanent and interconnected nature of existence, gaining insight into the causes of suffering and the cessation of suffering as taught in the Four Noble Truths. Self-compassion. Practicing self-compassion allows us to meet our own imperfections and challenges with equanimity, recognizing that we are all on a journey of growth and learning. By cultivating equanimity, we develop a deep sense of peace and stability that transcends the changing circumstances of life. Equanimity allows us to embrace the principle of non-force by relinquishing the need to control or manipulate our experiences, and by responding to life with balance, acceptance, and compassion. As we deepen our practice of equanimity, we discover a profound sense of freedom and liberation that arises from being at ease with whatever arises in each moment. Number 9. Compassion, karuna. Compassion, or karuna in Pali, is a fundamental quality in Buddhism that embodies the wish for all beings to be free from suffering and the commitment to alleviate the suffering of others. It is the heartfelt response to the pain and struggles of sentient beings, accompanied by the desire to offer support, comfort, and kindness. The Buddha taught that compassion is essential for cultivating wisdom and awakening the heart. By cultivating compassion, we not only alleviate the suffering of others, but also transform our own hearts and minds, leading to greater inner peace and fulfillment. Here are key aspects of compassion and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Empathetic understanding. Compassion arises from empathetic understanding of the suffering of others. When we recognize the universal nature of suffering and empathize with the struggles of sentient beings, our hearts naturally open with compassion. 2. Active response. Compassion is not merely a passive feeling, but a dynamic force that motivates us to take action to alleviate the suffering of others. Whether through acts of kindness, service, or advocacy, compassionate action is the expression of our commitment to ease the pain of others. 3. Non-discrimination. True compassion is inclusive and non-discriminatory. It extends to all beings regardless of their background, beliefs, or actions. By cultivating compassion without bias or judgment, we break down barriers and cultivate a sense of interconnectedness with all of life. 4. Self-compassion. Compassion begins with ourselves. When we extend kindness and understanding to our own struggles and imperfections, we create the foundation for genuine compassion towards others. Self-compassion enables us to approach ourselves and others with greater empathy and acceptance. 5. Transformative power. Compassion has the power to transform both the giver and the receiver. When we act with compassion, we cultivate qualities such as generosity, patience, and forgiveness within ourselves, leading to greater inner peace and happiness. At the same time, our acts of compassion have a ripple effect, inspiring others to cultivate kindness and creating a more compassionate world. In practical terms, cultivating compassion involves developing empathy. Cultivating empathy through practices such as loving kindness meditation, which involves generating feelings of love and compassion towards ourselves and others. Acting with kindness. Engaging in acts of kindness and generosity towards others, whether through small gestures of kindness or more significant acts of service. Practicing forgiveness. Cultivating forgiveness towards ourselves and others, recognizing that holding on to resentment and grudges only perpetuates suffering. Engaging in social justice. Advocating for justice and equality for all beings, addressing the root causes of suffering and working towards creating a more compassionate society. By cultivating compassion, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by responding to the suffering of others with kindness, understanding, and support, rather than trying to force outcomes or fix problems. Compassion opens our hearts to the interconnectedness of all beings and inspires us to live with greater wisdom, kindness, and integrity. As we deepen our practice of compassion, we contribute to the alleviation of suffering in the world and create conditions for greater peace and happiness for all beings. Number 10. Loving kindness, metta. Loving kindness, or metta in Pali, is a profound quality of unconditional love, friendliness, and goodwill towards all beings. It is the heartfelt wish for the well-being, happiness, and safety of oneself and others, without exception. The practice of loving kindness is central to Buddhism, as it cultivates a sense of connection, empathy, and generosity towards all beings. By nurturing loving kindness, we dissolve barriers of separation and foster a sense of unity and interconnectedness with all of life. Here are key aspects of loving kindness and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Universal love. Loving kindness extends to all beings, without exception. It is the recognition of the inherent worth and dignity of every sentient being, regardless of their background, beliefs, or actions. By cultivating loving kindness, we overcome feelings of separation and cultivate a sense of oneness with all beings. 2. Inner transformation. The practice of loving kindness transforms our own hearts and minds, leading to greater inner peace, happiness, and well-being. When we generate feelings of love and kindness towards ourselves and others, we create the conditions for greater joy, contentment, and fulfillment in our lives. 3. Alleviating suffering. Loving kindness is a powerful antidote to suffering. When we offer love and compassion to those who are suffering, we create a sense of connection and support that alleviates their pain and brings comfort and solace. By cultivating loving kindness, we contribute to the healing and well-being of all beings. 4. Generosity of spirit. Loving kindness is an expression of generosity of spirit. When we offer goodwill and kindness towards others, we create a ripple effect of positivity that uplifts not only the recipient, but also ourselves and others around us. By cultivating loving kindness, we create a more compassionate and harmonious world. 5. Wishing well for others. The practice of loving kindness involves actively wishing well for others. Through meditation and reflection, we generate thoughts and feelings of love, compassion, and goodwill towards ourselves and all beings, cultivating a sense of warmth and openness in our hearts. In practical terms, cultivating loving kindness involves loving kindness meditation. Engaging in loving kindness meditation, in which we cultivate feelings of love, compassion, and goodwill towards ourselves and others. Kind actions. Performing acts of kindness and generosity towards others, whether through simple gestures of care and support or more significant acts of service. Wise speech. Speaking words of kindness and encouragement, avoiding gossip, criticism, or harsh language that can cause harm to others. Compassionate listening. Listening with empathy and understanding, offering a compassionate presence to those who are suffering or in need of support. By cultivating loving kindness, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by responding to the world with love, kindness, and compassion, rather than trying to force outcomes or control situations. Loving kindness opens our hearts to the interconnectedness of all beings and inspires us to live with greater generosity, empathy, and care. As we deepen our practice of loving kindness, we create conditions for greater harmony, happiness, and well-being for ourselves and all beings. Number 11. Right effort, Sama Vayama. Right effort, or Sama Vayama in Pali, is one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path, the path to the cessation of suffering as taught by the Buddha. It refers to the cultivation of wholesome qualities and the abandonment of unwholesome qualities through skillful effort and diligence. The practice of right effort involves striving to develop positive qualities such as mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, while also exerting effort to overcome negative qualities such as greed, hatred, and delusion. It is the balanced effort required to progress along the path towards liberation and awakening. Here are key aspects of right effort and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Balanced effort. Right effort involves finding a balance between exerting effort and allowing things to unfold naturally. It is the middle way between the extremes of laziness and striving. By exerting effort mindfully and skillfully, we create the conditions for growth and transformation without forcing outcomes or grasping for results. 2. Cultivating wholesome qualities. Right effort entails cultivating wholesome qualities such as mindfulness, compassion, loving kindness, generosity, and wisdom. By consciously developing these qualities through practice and reflection, we create the conditions for greater well-being and happiness for ourselves and others. 3. Overcoming unwholesome qualities. Right effort also involves exerting effort to overcome unwholesome qualities such as greed, hatred, anger, jealousy, and ignorance. Through mindfulness and introspection, we recognize these unwholesome tendencies within ourselves and make a concerted effort to abandon them, cultivating greater inner peace and freedom as a result. 4. Persistent practice. Right effort requires persistence and determination in the face of obstacles and challenges. It is the willingness to continue practicing diligently, even when progress seems slow or difficult. By maintaining a steadfast commitment to the path, we gradually cultivate the qualities necessary for awakening. 5. Non-attachment to results. Right effort is characterized by a non-attachment to results. While we exert effort in our practice, we let go of expectations and attachments to specific outcomes. Instead, we focus on the process of cultivation itself, trusting that the fruits of our efforts will manifest in their own time. In practical terms, cultivating right effort involves mindful practice. Engaging in mindfulness practices, such as meditation, reflection, and daily mindfulness activities to develop awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Skillful action. Acting with integrity and wisdom in our interactions with ourselves and others, cultivating positive qualities and refraining from harmful actions. Self-reflection. Reflecting on our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with honesty and openness, identifying unwholesome patterns and making a concerted effort to transform them. Seeking guidance. Seeking guidance from wise and experienced teachers, mentors, or spiritual friends who can offer support, encouragement, and guidance on the path. By cultivating right effort, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by exerting effort mindfully and skillfully without trying to force outcomes or control situations. Right effort is the diligent cultivation of the qualities necessary for liberation and awakening, leading to greater peace, happiness, and well-being for ourselves and all beings. As we deepen our practice of right effort, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. Number 12. Right intention, Samma Sankappa. Right intention, or Samma Sankappa in Pali, is another aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path, which serves as a guide to living a life of wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental development. It refers to the cultivation of wholesome intentions and attitudes that are conducive to spiritual growth and liberation from suffering. The practice of right intention involves aligning our intentions with the principles of non-harming, non-ill will, and non-cruelty. It is about cultivating intentions of renunciation, loving kindness, and compassion, while letting go of intentions rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion. Here are key aspects of right intention and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Alignment with ethical principles. Right intention involves aligning our intentions with ethical principles such as non-harming, ahimsa, and non-violence. It is about cultivating intentions that promote the well-being and happiness of ourselves and others, while refraining from intentions that cause harm or suffering. 2. Renunciation. Right intention includes the intention of renunciation, or letting go of desires and attachments that lead to suffering. It is about cultivating contentment and simplicity, rather than constantly seeking gratification through worldly possessions or sensory pleasures. 3. Loving kindness and compassion. Right intention entails cultivating intentions of loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, towards ourselves and others. It is about wishing for the welfare and happiness of all beings and actively seeking to alleviate the suffering of others through kind words, actions, and thoughts. 4. Non-ill will. Right intention involves letting go of intentions rooted in ill will, hatred, or aversion. It is about cultivating intentions of goodwill and friendliness towards all beings, even those with whom we may have conflicts or disagreements. 5. Alignment with wisdom. Right intention is aligned with wisdom, panna, the understanding of the true nature of reality. It is about cultivating intentions that are in line with the understanding of impermanence, interconnectedness, and the causes of suffering as taught by the Buddha. In practical terms, cultivating right intention involves mindful reflection. Reflecting on our intentions, motivations, and attitudes with mindfulness and awareness. Cultivating virtue. Cultivating virtuous qualities such as honesty, integrity, and compassion, and aligning our intentions with ethical conduct. Developing loving kindness. Engaging in practices to develop loving kindness and compassion towards ourselves and others, such as loving kindness meditation. Letting go of harmful intentions. Recognizing and letting go of intentions rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion, and cultivating intentions that promote peace, happiness, and well-being. By cultivating right intention, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by cultivating wholesome intentions and attitudes that lead to greater peace, happiness, and well-being for ourselves and others. Right intention is the foundation of ethical conduct and mental development on the path to liberation from suffering. As we deepen our practice of right intention, we create the conditions for profound transformation and awakening. Number 13. Right action, Samma Kammanta. Right action, or Samma Kammanta in Pali, is one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path, which serves as a guide to living a life of ethical conduct and spiritual development. It refers to the cultivation of wholesome actions that are in alignment with the principles of non-harming, honesty, and integrity. The practice of right action involves refraining from actions that cause harm to oneself or others, and engaging in actions that promote well-being, harmony, and compassion. It is about living ethically and responsibly, with consideration for the welfare of all beings. Here are key aspects of right action and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Non-harming. Right action involves refraining from actions that cause harm or violence to oneself or others. It is about cultivating a sense of reverence for life and treating all beings with kindness, compassion, and respect. 2. Honesty and integrity. Right action entails being truthful and honest in our words and deeds. It is about cultivating integrity and reliability in our actions and avoiding deception, dishonesty, and manipulation. 3. Respect for property. Right action involves respecting the property and possessions of others. It is about refraining from stealing, cheating, or taking advantage of others for personal gain, and instead cultivating generosity and respect for others' belongings. 4. Sexual responsibility. Right action includes refraining from actions that cause harm or exploitation in the realm of sexuality. It is about cultivating sexual responsibility, honesty, and respect for oneself and others, and avoiding sexual misconduct, such as adultery or exploitation. 5. Mindful consumption. Right action involves being mindful of our consumption habits and their impact on ourselves, others, and the environment. It is about cultivating moderation, simplicity, and sustainability in our consumption patterns and avoiding overindulgence or wastefulness. In practical terms, cultivating right action involves mindful awareness. Cultivating mindfulness and awareness in our actions, speech, and thoughts. Ethical reflection. Reflecting on the ethical implications of our actions and their potential impact on ourselves and others. Developing virtue. Cultivating virtuous qualities such as kindness, compassion, honesty, and generosity, and aligning our actions with these principles. Practicing non-violence. engaging in practices that promote non-violence and compassion towards all beings, such as loving-kindness meditation and compassionate action. By cultivating right action, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by living ethically and responsibly with consideration for the welfare of all beings. Right action is the foundation of a life of integrity, compassion, and harmony, leading to greater peace, happiness, and well-being for ourselves and others. As we deepen our practice of right action, we create the conditions for profound transformation and awakening. Number 14. Acceptance. Acceptance is a fundamental principle in Buddhism that involves recognizing and embracing the reality of life as it is, without resistance or judgment. It is the willingness to acknowledge the impermanent and ever-changing nature of existence and to meet each moment with openness, equanimity, and non-attachment. Here are key aspects of acceptance and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Radical acceptance. Acceptance involves fully acknowledging and embracing the present moment, including its joys, sorrows, challenges, and uncertainties. It is about letting go of the desire for things to be different than they are and finding peace and contentment in the midst of life's ups and downs. 2. Letting go of resistance. Acceptance entails letting go of resistance to the reality of the present moment. It is about surrendering to the flow of life and allowing things to unfold naturally without trying to control or manipulate outcomes. 3. Cultivating equanimity. Acceptance is closely linked to the principle of equanimity. It is about cultivating a balanced and impartial mind that is not swayed by the changing conditions of life, but remains steady and composed in the face of pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame. 4. Embracing impermanence. Acceptance involves embracing the truth of impermanence, the understanding that all things are transient and subject to change. It is about letting go of attachments to fixed outcomes and recognizing the beauty and fragility of life in its constant flux. 5. Non-attachment. Acceptance is rooted in non-attachment, the recognition that clinging to desires and expectations only leads to suffering. It is about letting go of attachment to the past and the future and finding freedom in the present moment. In practical terms, cultivating acceptance involves mindfulness practice. Cultivating mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and sensations with acceptance and non-judgment. Radical self-acceptance. Embracing ourselves exactly as we are, with all our flaws and imperfections, and extending this same acceptance to others. Practicing gratitude. Cultivating gratitude for the blessings and challenges of life and finding contentment in the present moment. Letting go of control. Releasing the need to control or manipulate outcomes and trusting in the natural unfolding of life. By cultivating acceptance, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by embracing the reality of life as it is, with all its imperfections and uncertainties. Acceptance is the gateway to inner peace, contentment, and freedom, allowing us to live with greater ease and openness and to respond to life with wisdom and compassion. As we deepen our practice of acceptance, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. Number 15. Patience, Khanti. Patience, or Khanti in Pali, is a virtue highly regarded in Buddhism, emphasizing the ability to endure difficulties, setbacks, and challenges with equanimity and resilience. It is the capacity to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity, without giving in to frustration, anger, or impatience. Here are key aspects of patience and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Endurance. Patience involves the willingness to endure discomfort and adversity without succumbing to resistance or reactivity. It is about staying present with whatever arises, whether pleasant or unpleasant, and trusting in the natural unfolding of events. 2. Cultivating resilience. Patience builds resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and difficulties with grace and strength. It is about recognizing that challenges are an inherent part of life and viewing them as opportunities for growth and learning. 3. Tolerance of imperfection. Patience entails accepting the imperfections of ourselves and others with understanding and compassion. It is about letting go of the need for perfection and embracing the inherent humanity and fallibility of all beings. 4. Non-reactivity. Patience involves non-reactivity, the ability to respond to situations with mindfulness and equanimity rather than reacting impulsively out of habit or conditioning. It is about pausing before reacting and choosing a response that is skillful and compassionate. 5. Cultivating inner peace. Patience leads to inner peace, the calm and steady mind that arises from accepting things as they are, rather than trying to force them to be different. It is about finding peace amidst the storms of life and cultivating a sense of inner tranquility that is not dependent on external conditions. In practical terms, cultivating patience involves mindfulness. Practice. Cultivating mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts, emotions, and reactions with patience and non-reactivity. Practicing non-attachment. Letting go of attachment to outcomes and accepting the natural flow of life with patience and equanimity. Developing compassion. Cultivating compassion towards ourselves and others, recognizing that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have. Seeking support. Reaching out for support from spiritual teachers, mentors, or community members who can offer guidance and encouragement on the path of patience. By cultivating patience, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by accepting the unfolding of life with grace and equanimity, rather than trying to force outcomes or control situations. Patience is the foundation of inner peace and resilience, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom, compassion, and strength. As we deepen our practice of patience, we create the conditions for greater peace, happiness, and well-being for ourselves and all beings. Number 16. Trust in the process. Trust in the process is a fundamental aspect of acceptance in Buddhism. It involves having faith in the natural unfolding of life and trusting that everything happens according to its own rhythm and wisdom, even when the path ahead seems uncertain or challenging. Here are key aspects of trust in the process and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Surrendering to uncertainty. Trust in the process means surrendering to the inherent uncertainty of life and trusting that everything unfolds in its own time and way. It is about letting go of the need for certainty and control and embracing the mystery and unpredictability of existence. 2. Faith in the Dharma. Trust in the process is rooted in faith in the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, and confidence in the path of liberation from suffering. It is about trusting that the practices of mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom lead to greater peace, happiness, and freedom. 3. Embracing impermanence. Trust in the process entails embracing the impermanent nature of all things and trusting that change is an inherent part of life. It is about letting go of attachment to fixed outcomes and trusting that every experience, whether pleasant or unpleasant, is an opportunity for growth and transformation. 4. Cultivating patience. Trust in the process is closely linked to the practice of patience. It is about trusting that difficulties and challenges are temporary and that with patience and perseverance we can navigate through them with grace and resilience. 5. Finding freedom in surrender. Trust in the process leads to a sense of freedom in surrender, the freedom that comes from letting go of the need to control or manipulate outcomes and trusting in the inherent wisdom of life itself. In practical terms, cultivating trust in the process involves mindfulness practice. Cultivating mindfulness allows us to observe the flow of life with curiosity and openness, trusting that everything is unfolding as it should. Letting go of attachment. Letting go of attachment to specific outcomes and trusting that whatever arises is for our highest good and spiritual growth. Reflecting on impermanence. Reflecting on the impermanent nature of all things and trusting that change is a natural and necessary part of life. Surrendering to the present moment. Surrendering to the present moment with trust and openness, knowing that everything we need is available to us in this moment. By cultivating trust in the process, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by surrendering to the flow of life with trust and openness, rather than trying to force outcomes or control situations. Trust in the process is the gateway to greater peace, freedom, and happiness, allowing us to live with greater ease and joy, and to respond to life with wisdom and compassion. As we deepen our practice of trust in the process, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. Number 17. Simplicity, Santosha. Simplicity, or Santosha in Pali, is a principle in Buddhism that emphasizes contentment and inner peace through embracing a life of simplicity and moderation. It is the practice of finding fulfillment and happiness in the present moment, rather than seeking satisfaction through external possessions or achievements. Here are key aspects of simplicity and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Contentment with what is. Simplicity involves being content with what we have and finding joy and fulfillment in the present moment, rather than constantly seeking more or striving for external success. It is about appreciating the simple pleasures of life and cultivating gratitude for the abundance that already exists. 2. Letting go of excess. Simplicity entails letting go of excess and living with just what is necessary for our well-being and happiness. It is about decluttering our lives, both physically and mentally, and focusing on what truly matters, rather than being weighed down by unnecessary possessions or distractions. 3. Cultivating inner peace. Simplicity leads to inner peace, the calm and steady mind that arises from letting go of desires and attachments. It is about finding freedom in simplicity and experiencing a sense of spaciousness and clarity in our lives. 4. Honoring interdependence. Simplicity honors the interconnectedness of all beings and recognizes that our actions have an impact on the world around us. It is about living in harmony with nature and treading lightly on the earth, minimizing our ecological footprint and reducing harm to other beings. 5. Embracing the present moment. Simplicity involves fully embracing the present moment and finding joy and beauty in the here and now. It is about letting go of regrets about the past and worries about the future, and savoring the richness of life as it unfolds moment by moment. In practical terms, cultivating simplicity involves mindful consumption. Being mindful of our consumption habits and making choices that align with our values of simplicity, sustainability, and ethical responsibility. Sabbath practice. Setting aside regular time for rest and rejuvenation, and simplifying our schedules to create space for reflection, creativity, and connection. Gratitude. Practice. Cultivating gratitude for the simple blessings of life and appreciating the abundance that surrounds us, whether it be in nature, relationships, or everyday experiences. Voluntary simplicity. Exploring practices of voluntary simplicity, such as minimalism, frugality, and intentional living, to reduce clutter, busyness, and distractions, and create more space for what truly matters. By cultivating simplicity, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by letting go of the need to constantly strive for more, and instead finding contentment and fulfillment in the present moment. Simplicity is the pathway to greater peace, happiness, and freedom, allowing us to live with greater ease and joy, and to respond to life with wisdom and compassion. As we deepen our practice of simplicity, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. Number 18. Flexibility. Flexibility is an essential quality in Buddhism that involves adapting to change with openness, resilience, and agility. It is the ability to bend without breaking, to flow with the ever-changing circumstances of life, and to respond skillfully to whatever arises. Here are key aspects of flexibility and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Adaptability. Flexibility entails being adaptable and open-minded, willing to let go of rigid expectations and plans when necessary. It is about embracing the impermanent nature of life and responding to changing circumstances with creativity and resilience. 2. Equanimity in change. Flexibility involves maintaining equanimity in the face of change, neither clinging to what is passing nor grasping for what is yet to come. It is about finding a sense of stability and peace amidst the flux of life, knowing that all things are impermanent and subject to change. 3. Creative problem solving. Flexibility empowers us to approach challenges with creativity and resourcefulness, finding innovative solutions to obstacles and setbacks. It is about thinking outside the box and seeing possibilities where others see limitations. 4. Letting go of control. Flexibility entails letting go of the need to control or micromanage every aspect of our lives, and instead trusting in the natural intelligence and wisdom of life itself. It is about surrendering to the flow of life and allowing things to unfold organically without resistance or interference. 5. Embracing uncertainty. Flexibility involves embracing uncertainty as an inherent part of life and seeing it as an opportunity for growth and discovery. It is about stepping into the unknown with courage and curiosity rather than fear or resistance. In practical terms, cultivating flexibility involves mindfulness practice. Cultivating mindfulness allows us to observe our reactions to change with awareness and non-judgment, and to respond with greater flexibility and adaptability. Resilience training. Building resilience through practices such as meditation, yoga, or martial arts, which strengthen our capacity to bounce back from adversity and remain grounded in the midst of change. Embracing diversity. Embracing diversity and difference, and recognizing that there are many paths to truth and liberation. It is about being open to learning from others and expanding our perspectives. Seeking feedback. Seeking feedback from others and being open to constructive criticism and new ideas, rather than being defensive or closed-minded. By cultivating flexibility, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by embracing the dynamic and ever-changing nature of life, rather than trying to force outcomes or control situations. Flexibility is the key to greater resilience, creativity, and freedom, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with grace and ease. As we deepen our practice of flexibility, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. Number 19. Letting go. Letting go is a fundamental practice in Buddhism that involves releasing attachment to desires, expectations, and identities, and surrendering to the flow of life with openness and equanimity. It is the process of relinquishing the urge to control or grasp onto things, and instead allowing them to arise and pass away naturally. Here are key aspects of letting go and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Relinquishing attachment. Letting go entails relinquishing attachment to both the pleasant and unpleasant aspects of life. It is about releasing our grip on desires, expectations, and preferences, and accepting things as they are without clinging or aversion. 2. Surrendering control. Letting go involves surrendering the illusion of control and recognizing that much of life is beyond our influence. It is about trusting in the natural unfolding of events and allowing things to happen without trying to force or manipulate outcomes. 3. Cultivating detachment. Letting go cultivates detachment, a sense of inner freedom and independence from external conditions. It is about finding happiness and contentment within ourselves rather than seeking it from external sources. 4. Accepting impermanence. Letting go is rooted in the acceptance of impermanence, the understanding that all things are transient and subject to change. It is about embracing the fleeting nature of life and letting go of attachments to fixed outcomes or identities. 5. Finding liberation. Letting go leads to liberation, the freedom from the cycle of craving, clinging, and suffering. It is about experiencing the profound peace and joy that arises from releasing the burden of attachment and embracing the present moment with openness and acceptance. In practical terms, cultivating letting go involves mindfulness. Practice. Cultivating mindfulness allows us to observe our attachments with clarity and non-judgment and to let go of them with greater ease. Meditative inquiry. Reflecting deeply on the nature of attachment and impermanence through meditation and contemplation, and cultivating insight into the nature of reality. Practicing non-attachment. Engaging in practices that cultivate non-attachment, such as generosity, forgiveness, and loving kindness, which loosen the grip of self-centeredness and open the heart to greater compassion and connection. Developing trust. Cultivating trust in the wisdom of life and the teachings of the Buddha, and surrendering to the process of awakening with faith and confidence. By cultivating letting go, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by releasing the grip of attachment and surrendering to the flow of life with openness and equanimity. Letting go is the pathway to greater freedom, peace, and happiness, allowing us to live with greater ease and joy, and to respond to life with wisdom and compassion. As we deepen our practice of letting go, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. Number 20. Gratitude. Gratitude is a profound practice in Buddhism that involves recognizing and appreciating the blessings and opportunities present in our lives, regardless of our circumstances. It is the heartfelt acknowledgement of the interconnectedness and interdependence of all beings, and the recognition of the abundance and richness of life. Here are key aspects of gratitude and its relationship to the practice of non-force. 1. Cultivating appreciation. Gratitude involves cultivating appreciation for the gifts and blessings that surround us, from the simple joys of everyday life to the profound interconnectedness of all beings. It is about recognizing the beauty and wonder of existence and embracing life with an open heart. 2. Countering entitlement. Gratitude counters feelings of entitlement and dissatisfaction by shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already have. It is about cultivating a sense of abundance and sufficiency, rather than constantly striving for more or comparing ourselves to others. 3. Fostering connection. Gratitude fosters connection and intimacy with ourselves, others, and the world around us. It is about recognizing and acknowledging the kindness, generosity, and support of others, and expressing our appreciation in words and actions. 4. Transforming perception. Gratitude transforms our perception of life, enabling us to see challenges and difficulties as opportunities for growth and learning. It is about reframing our experiences through the lens of gratitude, finding meaning and purpose even in the midst of adversity. 5. Cultivating joy. Gratitude is closely linked to the cultivation of joy, the deep sense of well-being and happiness that arises from appreciating the goodness in our lives. It is about savoring the present moment and finding joy in the simple pleasures of life. In practical terms, cultivating gratitude involves daily reflection. Taking time each day to reflect on the blessings and opportunities present in our lives and expressing gratitude for them. Gratitude journaling. Keeping a gratitude journal where we write down things we are grateful for, allowing us to cultivate a habit of gratitude and appreciation. Acts of kindness. Engaging in acts of kindness and generosity towards others and expressing gratitude for the opportunities to make a positive impact in the world. Mindful living. Cultivating mindfulness in our daily activities, allowing us to fully appreciate the richness and beauty of each moment. By cultivating gratitude, we align ourselves with the principle of non-force by embracing life with appreciation and open-heartedness, rather than striving for more or resisting what is. Gratitude is the pathway to greater joy, connection, and well-being, allowing us to live with greater ease and happiness, and to respond to life with wisdom and compassion. As we deepen our practice of gratitude, we create the conditions for profound transformation and liberation from suffering. In conclusion, the teachings of Buddhism impart invaluable lessons on embracing acceptance in our lives. Through principles like patience, flexibility, and letting go, we learn to navigate life's uncertainties with grace and equanimity. Cultivating gratitude and simplicity allows us to find contentment in the present moment, fostering inner peace and joy. Join us on our journey of exploration and growth with words of Buddha. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to embark on a transformative path inspired by the timeless wisdom of the Buddha. Together, let's cultivate acceptance and enrich our lives with compassion, mindfulness, and gratitude.